welcome to Awakening TV. I'm Josephine Sellers, and today we're going to be exploring mediumship, and in particular, survival mediumship. And I have with me my friend and colleague, Janine Glynn, who is a medium, but has a particular gift at survival mediumship. And so I'm going to ask Jeannie to elaborate slightly there. What is survival mediumship? And then probably give us an overview of all the different types of mediumship that are possible.
Thank you. Good morning, Joseph.
Hello, and lovely to see you.
Thank you for inviting me. Survival mediumship. Well, mediumship can be used in many and varied forms. You know, you can use mediumship with your art. Lots of people who call themselves healers are also mediums, because medium, of course, means the middle person between the two states of consciousness. For myself, I've always been a front runner, so I'm out front with the evidence of survival. And I feel this is very important. Well, it's important for perhaps my personality, so I work quite fast and furious, and I've always been interested in saying to people that, you know, there is no death, there are no dead, only death of the body, of course, and I feel that it makes such a difference when people realise totally and fully that, you know, we all survive the change known as death. It makes such a difference, and so that's really why I'm interested mostly in that. I have used the faculty of mediumship for many other things, which perhaps we'll talk about later.
And I've seen you out there demonstrating in big public arenas, and you know, I have to say I've never seen anyone who seems to be able to go to so many people at such short notice and be so accurate, and whereas some mediums will just go to 2 or 3, I've seen you cover probably half the audience in a couple of hours, and that's quite remarkable, because that means there's a lot going on for you.
Well, I'm really working from quite a high point, you know. Yeah. Some mediums work at a slower rate, but that doesn't suit my personality.
Okay, so shall we elaborate on what it's like to give this survival, what happens for you when you're doing it, where the knowledge is coming into you, and how you know just to hit that right person in the audience?
Well, as I mentioned, some mediums who, in my opinion, perhaps are not as fully trained as they could be, are working from the solar plexus, so they're working slowly. I'm really working at this level, and that level means that you are really getting the inspiration in, and you're working at a much faster pace, so it's a bit like trance. Okay. And so by doing that, I can work faster and just bring it in.
So are you sensing the people behind you? Are you hearing their voices?
Really, I've got a combination of all three: clairvoyance, clairaudience, and
clairsentience. Can you tell us those? Clairaudience.
Yes. Well, clairaudience is when you hear. It's not hearing here audibly. It's around that throat chakra that you're hearing. So it's a bit like hearing a voice in your head. And obviously clairsentience is when you sense something on your body. Maybe if somebody had injured their leg, or they'd had half their leg off or something like that, then I would feel it on my body.
So that's the trigger, and that...
Yes. The same if they've had a bad chest complaint, you know, whether it's pneumonia or bronchitis, it's for me to decipher which of those ones it is. Then I feel it on my body, and I do mentally say to those that work with me, take it away, don't want it. Because it's important to do that. And clairvoyance obviously is when you're seeing the people. So I have a combination, so I may look around the audience, see a gentleman standing next to you, and can say, look, this is your mother's father, blah, 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 blah. Then I might get a leg or a chest, and it flows, and that's the way it happens for me. But every medium works in a different way.
Yes, I have to say for myself, having watched survival mediumship, especially in the early days of my own exploration, it was the trigger that made me realise, there has to be something else, they're not dead, and that opened the doorway.
Absolutely.
And so that's you really are the one that opens the door for people. So I've got lots of questions I want to ask you today. They've been given to me by a number of people. One of the first questions was, what age did it start to come for you?
Well, I was brought up in American evangelism, so anything like this was a little bit taboo, although my own mother was quite mediumistic. And I broke away and started to go to spiritualist church at the age of 28, and I have to say I was about the youngest person there, because in those days most people were little old ladies, you know. But about 29, I kept moaning and saying, I want to be a medium. Why don't you have a circle that I can sit in and develop? And they kept saying, oh, it takes years. And I thought, well, the sooner I start. And eventually, I was told by a very wise little gentleman who ran that particular spiritualist church, well, we'll have a circle, but you can run. I said, I can't run it, I don't know anything about it. He said, well, I'll tell you what, you run it, and when you go wrong, I'll put you right. And of course, he never said a word, bless him, all the time. And so he realised that I was having to really search out and work under inspiration. I started running groups and circles.
So it looks as though there's some sort of call in you, some sort of mission.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So one of the other questions that I've been given is, and this is big for everybody, I think, who've got children, what happens to people, and particular children, when they die? Where do they go?
Well, the spirit world isn't a place as such, like when people will speak about heaven and hell. It's a world that interpenetrates this world, and so it's a different vibration, but still here in the here and now. When you say what happens to people, everyone's experience, of course, is different. And some people think that if you have no knowledge or interest in spiritualism or spiritual things, that you're going to be at a real disadvantage when you get into that world. That isn't always true. Obviously, if you are experienced and you've learned a lot and been in the movement a long time, then you are going to know exactly when you've gone over what's happened, because many people don't even know that they've died, because the situation is so similar, because everything in this world that we see and vibrate is so tangible to us as tangible beings, but in that world the table and the chairs are just as solid and real to those souls as they are here, because it has a counterpart. Now, there's been long time been a theory that people in the spirit world, usually adults that is, seem to be around about the age of 30, when I suppose one could say perhaps we're all at our prime around that age. And it's certainly been my experience when doing psychic art. People will say, that is definitely my grandmother. I've got a photograph, but it's when she was younger. Yeah. And similarly the same with the children, obviously, and particularly if it's babies or even those that have been miscarried and looked after in that world and nursed and brought up, and they grow to an optimum age. Yes, but very often when we're working with mediumship, they'll come back primarily as a child, and then we'll see the adult. Because obviously, if I said to somebody, I've got a young man here of 21 years of age, and they think, well, who the heck's that? Whereas if I say, look, you know, I've got a baby that never touched the earth, was a miscarriage, and then, and now that person is. So, it's really a world of thought, and thought creates reality. So, as we think,
seems to be a myriad of questions you could ask about that. I won't go into greater detail at this stage, because I would want to say to you, I would want to be asking you about the stages of death. I think from myself, who've done bardo work in regression, life between life,
sure.
I always knew that the times I knew that I was immortal, death was much easier. It was going home and I couldn't wait to go. And the spirit would leave the body. And then times, if I had a lifetime where I wasn't aware of that, I'd hang on for too long in a body that had long passed its sell-by date.
Yes, absolutely.
And my understanding that if those around us understand and let us go, we go much more easily. And so that's a big area.